Lawyer warns seniors. Debit card users beware. This new payment decline trick is spreading fast and it's catching seniors off guard every single day. If you use your debit card regularly, whether at the grocery store, the gas station, or even online, you need to hear this because what looks like an innocent decline payment could actually be a setup to drain your bank account within minutes. Please stay with me until the very end because I'll walk you through how this trick works step by step and what you can do right now to protect yourself. And before we dive in, take a quick second to like this video. Comment below if you've ever had a suspicious charge on your card and hit that subscribe button because I'm here to keep you safe. Part 1: The setup of the scam. Imagine this. You're standing at the checkout counter. You've got a line of people behind you. You're fumbling with your groceries and you insert or tap your card. Then suddenly the screen flashes, payment declined. The cashier looks at you with that neutral, maybe slightly impatient look and says, "It didn't go through. Try again." Right there in that moment of pressure, scammers know exactly what's going through your mind. You're embarrassed. You don't want to hold up the line. You don't want to look like you don't have money in your account. And so, almost automatically, you reach to try again. That's exactly what these criminals are counting on. What most people don't realize is that these declines can be deliberately manufactured. It's not always the bank rejecting your card. In fact, some merchants are using tampered payment machines or software tweaks that cause the screen to falsely reject the first attempt. It's staged like a magician's sleight of hand. They make you think nothing worked, but behind the scenes, your card information is already being skimmed or recorded. Then, when you try a second time, the transaction magically works. You walk away relieved, completely unaware that your details have been compromised. This trick plays directly on human psychology, our dislike of confrontation, our eagerness to fix a mistake quickly, and our trust that a business is acting in good faith. Part 2: Why seniors are targeted. Now let's talk about why seniors are disproportionately being targeted with this trick. Scammers study human behavior the way a predator studies its prey. They know seniors are often polite, respectful, and less likely to cause a scene if something doesn't look right. If a payment fails, many older adults would rather quickly attempt again instead of asking probing questions or refusing to proceed. Criminals rely on that politeness. It's not a weakness. It's a virtue, but unfortunately, it's one that can be exploited. On top of that, seniors often use debit cards as their primary method of payment. Many grew up in a time when debt was avoided, so they stick with debit to manage their money responsibly. But unlike credit cards, debit cards are directly linked to your bank account. If something goes wrong, the money is taken immediately. Not a statement you can dispute later, but cash that's gone from your balance. And the sad truth is recovering funds from debit card fraud can take weeks, sometimes months. Criminals know this. They also know seniors may not check their online banking as frequently as younger generations who live glued to their phones. That delay in noticing unusual activity gives scammers precious hours or even days to drain accounts before anyone catches on. To them, seniors are not just targets. They're the perfect targets. Polite, trusting, and often using the very financial tools that leave them most vulnerable. Part 3. How the trick works technically. Here's where things get really alarming. Let's peel back the curtain on how the scam actually works from a technical standpoint. Payment terminals are designed to communicate directly with banks and card networks, but scammers have found ways to interfere. Some use small overlay devices, almost like a thin shell, that fit right over the machine's keypad or card slot. These overlays can capture the card number and PIN as soon as you insert your card. The overlay may also trigger a false error message like declined, making you try again on the legitimate machine below, by which point they already have your data. Other times, the scam doesn't even involve a physical skimmer. Certain merchants or dishonest employees manipulate the system to run a small background test charge. It could be as little as $1 or $2. On your end, it looks like the transaction failed. On their end, it confirms your card is valid and active. Once they know it works, they or their criminal partners can use the information for much larger transactions later. What makes this even scarier is that scammers are blending high-tech with low-tech. Some payment terminals can be remotely hacked to create these false decline screens. In other cases, it's as simple as a clerk pressing the cancel button before the payment completes, then casually telling you, "Oh, it didn't work. Try again." Whether it's digital manipulation or physical tampering, the outcome is the same. You end up authorizing multiple attempts, and with each attempt, more of your card data is exposed to people who should never have it. Part 4: Real-life examples. This isn't just theory. It's happening to real people. And often they don't connect the dots until it's far too late. One woman in her 70s went to her local grocery store. She swiped her debit card. The machine beeped and displayed declined. The cashier, appearing friendly and unbothered, said, "Oh, this happens all the time. Go ahead and try again." She did. The second time it worked. She thought nothing of it until 2 days later when her checking account was suddenly missing $600. ATM withdrawals had been made in a city she hadn't visited in years. The decline wasn't a glitch. It was the moment her information was stolen. Another man told me about his experience at a gas station. He tapped his card, was told the transaction didn't go through, and reluctantly swiped again. By the next morning, he discovered his card had been used to book airline tickets across the country. He hadn't connected the dots between that awkward moment at the pump and the fraud on his account. Even more heartbreaking is when seniors don't even realize what happened until weeks later. They might notice small $1 or $2 charges on their account and assume it's a mistake, but those tiny charges are criminals testing the card before going in for the big hit. By the time the large withdrawals happen, the trail is already cold, and recovering the funds becomes a nightmare. These are not isolated stories. They're happening everywhere, from busy supermarkets to quiet corner stores. And scammers are getting more sophisticated every single day. Part 5: Why it's so dangerous. The reason this scam is so dangerous is because it hides inside something completely ordinary. Payments decline all the time. It's normal. Maybe the card reader is dirty. Maybe the internet connection is weak. Maybe the bank's fraud detection temporarily blocked it. So when it happens, most of us don't think twice. That normally is the camouflage that scammers use to slip under the radar. The danger doubles when we're talking about debit cards. With credit cards, fraudulent transactions can usually be flagged and reversed quickly without your money ever leaving your account. But with debit, the money is gone instantly. Your rent, your grocery budget, even money set aside for medication vanish in a single moment. Banks will eventually investigate, but I've seen cases where seniors have waited 30, 60, even 90 days for reimbursement. That's weeks of stress, financial juggling, and sleepless nights. Another layer of risk is emotional. Seniors who fall victim often feel embarrassed or ashamed, as if they made a mistake or weren't careful enough. Scammers thrive on that silence. If you don't report it quickly because you don't want anyone to know, it gives them even more time to keep stealing. That's why this scam is not just financially damaging, but emotionally exhausting. It undermines trust in everyday interactions. Suddenly, the simple act of paying for groceries becomes a source of anxiety. And that is exactly what makes this trick so cruel. It takes advantage of the ordinary moments we all go through and it turns them into traps. Part 6: The red flags to watch for. So, let's slow down and really look at the warning signs, because once you learn them, you'll start noticing patterns that most people miss. The first and biggest red flag is when the cashier or clerk seems unusually quick to push you into trying again. A legitimate employee, when faced with a declined transaction, will usually pause, check the terminal, maybe suggest trying a different card or offer to print out a decline slip. But when someone immediately says, try again, without even checking, that's suspicious. They don't want to give you time to think. They want you to act on impulse. The second red flag is the machine itself. Payment terminals should sit firmly in their cradle. If it feels loose, bulky, or if the card slot looks like there's an extra layer of plastic, that's a strong indicator of a skimmer or overlay device. Scammers design these covers to look convincing, but they often don't fit perfectly. If you tug lightly and the reader wiggles unnaturally, walk away. Third, watch out for unusual delays. If you insert your card and it takes an abnormally long time to show the decline message, that could mean the machine is processing something it shouldn't. Criminal software can slow down the normal flow of a transaction. And here's one that many people overlook. Tiny charges on your statement. If you see $1, $2, or even $5 charges from businesses you don't recognize, don't brush them off as errors. That's how criminals test your card before making bigger moves. Banks call these test transactions. They're like a burglar rattling your doorknob before deciding whether to break in. Finally, always listen to your instincts. Seniors often have what I call life-trained radar. If something feels off about the transaction, the clerk's behavior, the look of the machine, or just a gut feeling, don't ignore it. Your instincts are a survival tool. Too many people dismiss that little voice in their head only to regret it later. If your gut tells you something isn't right, there's usually a reason. Part 7. What to do if this happens to you. Let's say you're in that exact situation. Your card gets declined and something doesn't feel right. What should you do in the moment? First, don't panic. The worst thing you can do is rush. Take a breath and slow everything down. Ask the clerk to print out proof of the decline. If they hesitate or refuse, that's another red flag. A legitimate decline can always generate a receipt. Second, instead of swiping or tapping your debit card again, switch to another payment method. Ideally, use a credit card. Why? Because with credit, if fraud does occur, the money hasn't actually left your account yet. You have leverage to dispute the charge before you pay it. That's protection you don't get with debit. Third, check your account immediately. Most banks today have apps where you can see pending charges in real time. Take 30 seconds to log in right after a suspicious transaction. If you see something strange, you can freeze your card before the scammers even get a chance to use it. Fourth, report it right away. Call your bank from a trusted number, the one printed on the back of your card, not one a clerk or stranger gives you. Explain exactly what happened, the decline, the retry, and any suspicious details. The faster you alert them, the more they can do to block fraudulent charges. And lastly, don't be afraid to walk away. If you feel pressured, uncomfortable, or if the situation seems fishy, take your business elsewhere. It may feel awkward to abandon your groceries or step away from a gas pump, but losing a little time is far better than losing your savings. Remember, your dignity, your financial security, and your peace of mind are worth far more than avoiding a moment of inconvenience. Part 8. Practical protection strategies. Now let's dig into practical steps you can take so that even if scammers try this trick, you're protected. First, whenever possible, use the tap-to-pay function on your card or smartphone. Contactless payments are harder to skim because they transmit encrypted one-time use codes. That means even if a scammer intercepted the signal, it would be useless to them for future transactions. Second, set up transaction alerts with your bank. Most banks will let you receive a text or push notification every time your card is used. This might feel overwhelming at first, but it's one of the best defenses you have. If you get a notification for a charge you didn't make, even a $1 charge, you can shut things down instantly. Third, limit how much money is kept in the account tied to your debit card. Too many people keep all their savings sitting in one account. A safer approach is to keep only what you need for everyday expenses in your checking account and move the rest into savings. That way, even if scammers got in, they'd have access to only a limited amount. Fourth, make use of your bank's fraud prevention tools. Many banks allow you to temporarily lock your card in the app when you're not using it. That way, even if your details were stolen, the card itself would be unusable until you unlock it again. And here's a strategy most seniors don't think about. Carry 2 cards from different banks. Use one for small, everyday transactions like groceries and fuel. Use the other, preferably a credit card, for larger or online purchases. By separating your financial activity, you reduce the risk of a single compromised card wreaking havoc across your entire financial life. Above all, remind yourself regularly that security is not paranoia. In today's world, being cautious is being smart. Scammers prey on those who assume it won't happen to me. By preparing in advance, you take away their power. Part 9. What banks don't tell you. Now, I want to share a reality that most banks will never openly admit. Debit card fraud is far more painful than credit card fraud. Yes, banks advertise that they'll protect you if there's unauthorized activity. And technically that's true. They will eventually reimburse you, but what they don't tell you is how long it takes. With credit cards, fraudulent charges are often reversed in days. You haven't paid the bill yet, so the bank simply removes the fake charges and you're done. But with debit, the money is withdrawn instantly. That's your rent, your bills, your grocery money gone in a heartbeat. And then you're stuck in limbo while the bank investigates. I've seen seniors forced to wait 30, 60, sometimes even 90 days before the funds are returned. Imagine living on a fixed income and suddenly 3 months of your budget disappears. The stress is unbearable. Here's another thing banks don't like to highlight. Their fraud departments aren't built with seniors in mind. They often send emails or app notifications, assuming you'll notice them immediately. But many older adults don't check these messages often. If you miss that window, the scammers can run wild before you even realize. This is why I often encourage seniors to rethink the advice they may have heard from financial gurus who say, never use credit cards, only use debit. That advice might have made sense decades ago, but in today's fraud-filled environment, it's outdated. Using a credit card responsibly, paying it off each month can actually shield you from the very risks that debit exposes you to. That doesn't mean abandon your debit card altogether. But it does mean being strategic about when and how you use it. Because the truth is, banks will always put their own processes first. It's up to you to protect yourself in real time. Part 10, Final Warning and Call to Action. Escape. So let me leave you with this. The payment decline trick is not a glitch. It's not bad luck. It's a calculated scam, and it's spreading faster than most people realize. The next time your card gets declined unexpectedly, stop and think. Don't just rush to swipe again. Look around. What does the machine look like? How is the clerk behaving? What is your gut telling you? That pause could save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Remember, scammers are clever, but they're also lazy. They don't want to fight. They want easy victims. People who won't question, won't check, and won't act quickly. By staying alert, you take yourself off their target list. You turn the tables. And I'll say this again. If you've ever experienced this scam or even suspected something like it, share your story. Post it in the comments below. You might feel embarrassed, but I promise you there are thousands of others going through the exact same thing. By speaking up, you give someone else the knowledge they need to avoid becoming the next victim. Finally, do me a favor. Like this video so more seniors see it. Subscribe so you don't miss my next warning. And share this with a friend or loved one. A single click could save someone from losing their hard-earned savings. And of course, remember this video is for information only. I am a lawyer but not your lawyer. If you've been affected, contact your bank immediately, and if necessary, consult a qualified attorney in your area. Stay safe, stay smart, and most importantly, never let anyone pressure you into handing over your trust. Because your trust is worth more than gold to a scammer.